Well, here we are. Welcome into the dirty pocket where football gets messy and we talk about it. It is myself, Stacey Bauman, joined by my partner in crime, the scout, Daniel Kelly. How are you, my man?
Doing well. Wearing my Tim Tebow New York Jets jersey tonight. You can't see it, but I got it on. And with my JETS Jets hat, because we are talking JETS Jets tonight.
That's right. As promised, man. We're coming off one of our stranger episodes last week.
Oh, that was great. That was great. It was so much fun because this guy came on the show, right? And he thought he was coming in hot. But but you and I were like these great offensive tackles, these Hall of Fame offensive tackles. And it was just like it was just simple. I mean, he just, it was just all talk, and he tried to do all these moves off the edge, and we stalemated him. No pressures, no sacks, easily handled. We did a good job, Stacey.
He did not.
He didn't get in the pocket.
He did not enjoy it. Yeah,
he was working on the perimeter. He was on the outside looking in. He bought a ticket to the game. Let's put it that way.
I think his fullback missed the blitz pickup pretty hard because at about 3/4 of the way through, we got a proclamation that Trey Lance will be a top 5 quarterback in 3 years. When pressed on what that was based on, we instantly started talking about North Dakota State. It was just a very strange thing.
Wow, did we regress or what?
Glad that's over. Forget about 49er talk. We are here this week.
Forget about it. That's what they say in New York. It's one word, man. Forget about it. It's one word.
We're going to talk Jets. And I just want to say right now, I look like a blueberry. I don't know what's going on with my lighting.
Are you feeling a little blue? Because are the Rams not going to win this year? Are you feeling kind of blue?
Let's be honest. It's world champion blue. It's kind of a new hue I'm going for. World champion blue. So I'm okay with it. But yeah, some weird lighting. So let's hope it makes me look younger. Let's go with that.
Absolutely. I'm looking very green.
If you're a Jets fan watching or listening in, we have a tradition here where we have to discuss what our beverage of choice is on this episode. Ooh. For me, I keep the 6-pack abs.
Jackson.
Zevia, cola flavored for me out here on the West Coast in the Pacific Northwest. My partner, the scout, is at the other end of the country in Key West, in Florida. What are we drinking out there?
I'm on a 4x2 mile island surrounded by ocean and the Gulf of Mexico down here. I mean, if you look at your maps, I mean, it's like looking at a pinhead in the middle of the ocean, right? Okay, what am I drinking tonight? Let's take a look. You ready? This is a new one. This is a new one.
Wow, you're gonna drop something on us here?
I did this one just for you today at the store, Stacey.
Oh boy. Okay. If this is Tab, I'm gonna freak out. What is that? Sour Patch Go. Oh, I know some kids that would love that. Is that a real drink?
It's a real drink, energy drink.
What?
Yes, it's a Sour Patch Red Berry energy drink, which tastes really good because I'm a big kid at heart. I love treats and I love energy drinks and I love Sour Patch Kids. So are you ready for my yes? You ready for my little spot tonight for the dirty
Okay, here we go. A jingle from the scout. Here it comes.
Okay, when Zach Wilson leaves a real sour patch taste in your mouth because he doesn't play well, reach for this and quench your thirst.
Oh my God, Zach Wilson, shots fired early in the episode.
Right. Oh wait, hold on. I think his mommy's calling in. She's upset.
Oh no!
Hold on. Wait a second. Yeah, okay. She's upset. The mommy's upset because every quarterback in New York wants their mommy being upset, right?
Oh no!
Leave my son alone. Leave him alone. Don't buy some yoga pants. Leave my son alone.
Oh boy. Okay, well, Jets fans, here we go.
I'm ready tonight, baby. I'm coming off the edge tonight.
I'm
locked and loaded. I got pages of notes. Let's hear some subjective nonsense about why Zach Wilson's going to be so good this year. Because I'm ready. I'm ready.
If you're joining us and you're a Jets fan, we have one in MTO who's been coming for a few weeks. But if you follow Mr. Kelly on Sports Illustrated, where he writes about the New York Jets. Can we call them gangrene? Can we call them that?
Sure.
We are going to unpack this, and it sounds like you want to start at position numero uno, QB1 for the New York Jets.
Like that, yeah.
We want to mention that we wanted to do this post NFL draft after the Jets in what I thought had an A+ draft. I thought they did a fantastic job, particularly their first 3 picks, but they added some depth on the back end. But you pointed out to me some holes that I had not considered. So we'll get to those eventually. And MTO has shown. We want to make sure he is making it known. He is a Jets fan. He is going to be faithful. I think that's a play on words with the guy from last week.
I think so. Oh, kudos to MTO.
Nice job, MTO. He's going to be faithful to the Zack for this one night only.
Wow. MTO is going yard, as they say in New York.
And I got to tell you, so let's start at quarterback for the New York Jets post NFL draft, sophomore season. MTO's he's got some strong comments here, but I want to give you the microphone first. As you look at the quarterback position for the New York Jets, Zach Wilson, I am not nearly as sour on him as you are. I like the kid. Do I think he needs some seasoning? Yes. I see a little Brett Favre-esque type style in him out of BYU.
Are your eyes going?
I know. We're going to disagree on this one. That I think the folks will love this. They'll love seeing us. Yeah, no, my eyes are great, man. I don't think Zach Wilson is as bad as you say, but give it to us now. I just love MTO coming a week later with faithful to the Zack.
That's great. See, it's really hard for me to come off the edge with MTO standing there, because I like MTO. He's been a great contributor to our show, and I know he wants to come in hot tonight.
He's hot
with the Zach Wilson stuff, but I like him, so it's going to be a tough one for me. So okay,
well, let's start here, because MTO has made a bold comment. Scout Kelly, Zach Wilson, sophomore season, New York Jets, Robert Saleh. Here is where MTO says the scout might be full of hot air, man. No more Josh Daniels to carry Mac Jones this year. You have been high on Mac Jones, but without going down that rabbit hole, tell us why you are so down on Zach Wilson, man. He's a young guy. Why so down on him? I am not.
Right. Well, let me kind of share this, okay? And again, this is nothing against the Jets, fan base at all, because my disdain of Zach Wilson started long before the card was sent in. When I looked at him at BYU, okay, I talked in an article pre-draft for NFL Draft Diamonds. You can type in Daniel Kelly, Zach Wilson on Google, it'll pop right up first thing. I talked about how, I put a 3rd round grade on Zach Wilson from a developmental standpoint. And I said that if they go any higher than that, I mean, it wasn't like Trey Lance. I put a UFA grade on him and sent him out to pasture. Okay. But Zach Wilson, I put a 3rd round grade on him, and I said, if anybody drafts him in the 1st round, this guy is going to get the entire scouting staff fired. Okay. And what I saw in Zach Wilson is I saw somebody who just was a very mechanical and robotic quarterback he looked kind of like how Tiger Woods was trained to be a golfer from the time he could walk. That's kind of the sense that I got watching Zach Wilson, is that they tried to make him into a quarterback and manufacture. I've never in 40 years seen a more manufactured quarterback in my life than Zach Wilson, and I've seen all of them come and go. And what I mean by that is, we look at this and be like, well, why did he end up at the Jets? Well, ironically, Zach Wilson's uncle owns JetBlue Airlines, which is the official airlines of the New York Jets.
Interesting tidbit.
And so now it gets, that's pause for stations to identify themselves. And that's interesting, MTO. That is interesting, because I learned that. So this may go even higher than Joe Douglas or Robert Saleh. This may be a call on the red phone from ownership saying, this is the direction we're going. But I didn't like what I saw with Wilson. I did not like his downfield ball placement at all. If you go back, MTO, or any of our watchers and listeners, and look at that scouting report I did on Zach Wilson pre-draft, every single thing that Zach Wilson struggled with for the New York Jets in 2021 is in black and white pre-draft. It's all right there if you read that report. It's all there. Everything he struggled with. So I just don't feel. I don't feel instinctually he's a quarterback in the National Football League. And the problem is that when Zach Wilson. Everybody talks about the big numbers, Stacy, and our listeners that he put up at BYU. Listen, we're talking about now. Turn up your volume. So let me get the volume button here. Okay, we're talking about the 9th ranked passer at BYU history, behind guys like John Beck and a bunch of people no one's even heard of, okay? That's what he did at that school. BYU played a cream puff schedule, Zach Wilson's last year at BYU. And he was throwing the receivers who were like, hey, I'm open. It was like watching kids playing in the playground. Hey, throw it to me. Okay, that's not the way the NFL works. You have to throw the ball before the receivers make the break. And if you look at Zach Wilson last year, short, intermediate, and deep, his ball placement was all over the road. Okay, it was like watching somebody like skip rocks in a lake, watching him throw screen passes to running backs half the time. The ball was high, the ball was low, the ball was all over the place, the ball was deep were inaccurate. He does not have the instincts for the position. Now, here's what I saw on game film when he went to the Jets last year, and I'll wrap this up real quickly. Okay, is that last year, you know that T-shirt floating around? You seen, that green T-shirt? Have you seen, Stacey? It says Zach Wilson is good on Twitter. They're selling it. Okay.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, Braxton Berrios likes to wear it. It's like watching a bunch of high school kids run around with each other's names on their shirts. Okay, Zach Wilson wears one that says Braxton Berrios is good, and Braxton Berrios wears one that says Zach Wilson's good. So I went ahead and made a new T-shirt and had it designed and put it on, one of those T-shirt design shops. And then my T-shirt's green. It says Zach Wilson is good in the front, and then if you turn it over in the back, and it says, but he holds the ball too long. And that's the problem. That's the problem with Zach Wilson, because he's unsure of what he's looking at downfield. He holds the ball too long, which is why he's the 3rd most sacked quarterback in the NFL with 44 sacks, I believe, last season, because he holds the ball too long. So that's what I don't like about Zach Wilson. I think he lacks instincts for the position. I think he holds the ball too long. I think his ball placement's horrible downfield, and I don't think he knows what he's looking at in the NFL. And also, it's a horrible selection. This is a very soft kid, okay, soft personality kid that grew up with a lot of entitlement and a lot of money. Okay, now you're going to send him into New York, which the old saying in life is, if you can make it in New York, you can make it any place. I lived there 4 years. I know, right? So there you are in New York, okay, which is only where the strong survive. Where if you look at all the great New York quarterbacks, whether you're talking Jets, Giants, you're talking Buffalo Bills, it doesn't matter. If you look at all the great Buffalo, the New York quarterbacks throughout the years, okay, they're all thick-skinned guys. I don't care if you're talking about Whitehead, if you're talking about Joe Namath, if you're talking about Phil Simms, Jeff Hostetler, Jim Kelly, I don't care, who you're talking about, okay? They're all tough-skinned guys. They all are big personality, tough-skinned guys. Zach Wilson looks like a high school kid. He acts like a high school kid.
Young.
He's soft. He's soft as tissue paper. He does not have the personality to make it in New York, period. And so it's a bad selection by the Jets all the way around, okay? I think at one point last season, the camera showed him on the sidelines, and it looked like he was crying after he got sacked, okay? He's not a fit for the Jets whatsoever at quarterback. That's what I see. That's preliminarily what I've looked at.
Okay, I've got to tell you, it's coming rapid fire, and God, I love when we got a passionate fan on here. MTO brings up something that's pretty valid on that last point, which Eli Manning. I want to just say before we launch into his comment that Zach Wilson looks like he's 17. I mean, he's a young, good-looking kid. He's in New York City. I do think the lights were a little bright for him in his first year coming out of BYU. MTO clearly followed him and mentions that, he had very little wide receiver talent there, and comparing him to somebody like a Mac Jones or a Trevor Lawrence who had, NFL caliber wide receivers is kind of silly. But this is an interesting point because the connection to JetBlue, the silver spoon in his mouth, there was a crazy story about his mom when he got drafted. We don't want to go too far down that road. But Eli Manning played into that a little bit. And you remember Eli, in fact, told the Chargers to pound sand that he wouldn't play for them. And Eli seemed to rebound. And again, I thought Eli was talented, but I thought a little bit marginal compared to, had he landed somewhere without, a Plaxico Burress and some of the guys that he had around him originally, who knows, right? But what say you to this? Can Zach Wilson, and again, we've looked at this past year in which, I had said 9 TDs, 11 interceptions, 28.2 QBR. Ouch, in your rookie season. But to MTO's point here, going into year 2, they've got him some weapons. I mean, compared to last year, that wide receiver room for the New York Jets looks really nice on paper. By the way, congratulations to Garrett Wilson signing his long-term deal, his rookie contract.
Love Garrett Wilson. I love him.
What a player.
He was my wide receiver 1 pre-draft.
Yep, you were high on him. So MTO's point here, Eli Manning took the silver spoon out, took a beating on some days, and pulled out 2 Super Bowls. You don't see Zach Wilson being able to do that if they build around him?
I don't. And that's a very, I want to credit you, MTO, because I can already tell this is going to be a much better show than last week's, because that's
anything is.
I feel like I'm in an adult conversation again. That's a really good comment on your behalf. That's a very valid comment that I would like a chance to respond to. Eli Manning did come out of a situation where he was, sort of entitled. Now, obviously, Archie Manning, his dad, did not make anywhere near the kind of money that these guys are making today. When he grew up, underneath that. But
he didn't own an airline. We want to be real clear about that. Archie didn't own an airline.
Right. No, and I think he even worked a part-time job when he was quarterbacking. Like they all did. Insurance sales guys. Or whatever it was. I don't know what it was. But, he did demand the trade out of San Diego. You're right about that, MTO. I didn't like that at the time. I didn't like that entitlement. And I'm going to go on record as saying this, is that I liked Eli much better than I ever liked Peyton. I thought that he was a lot tougher of a quarterback. And the thing about Archie Manning and both the Manning boys and the whole Manning family is Archie Manning is got that Cajun, that kind of that tough, that outer shell that his boys had. And even though they grew up, obviously when you came up with, anytime you come up, I mean, if I was Daniel Belichick, anytime you come up with one of those type of names, there's going to be some silver spoon syndrome going on. But I never got the sense from either of the Manning boys that they had that softness to them. They took a beating at times, and they never came up looking. They were both very highly competitive. I'll never forget the look on Peyton Manning's face when Eli was down the field winning a Super Bowl against the Patriots. He looked just downright pissed. And he looked like, I want to get back. Did he? I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah. Those are great rivalries.
But that kind of competitiveness. So when you see that kind of competitiveness, it would seem like if I had to put money on, Archie was probably pretty hard on his boys coming up. And, much like Brett Favre's daddy was, maybe not the same level. But those guys, when you can stand in the NFL and stand in the pocket and take that kind of beating for that many years, you got a pretty thick skin overall. And, and you're right, MTO. He did win 2 titles against the New England Patriots, which is a tremendous accomplishment in my mind. So sure, it can happen. Anything can happen. Anything's possible. The word impossible is just in the dictionary. Anything's possible. And I hate being the bearer of bad news. I hate to be the guy that rain on people's parades, whether it be the 49ers fan base, the Jets fan base, any fan base really, because I know how this is the fans have no control over any of this. The team picks the players, and then we all got to get behind the players, and we try to be optimistic as possible. And most of the time it ends up in just crushing disappointment. And I hate how this stuff happens, because there's no way that these type of quarterbacks should have been drafted in the first round. Zach Wilson in the NFL that you and I grew up with, Stacy, Zach Wilson, and I would have taken Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence, and I would have taken him over Trey Lance.
Me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Back in the day, I grew up in the 80s, where the football was what it was, or the 90s. Is that he would have been the perfect 3rd round draft choice you bring in, and you just kind of sit him on the bench for a year or two, like a Stan Humphries or one of those type of guys, and you just let him watch film and redshirt him in practice and kind of bring him along like Joe Gibbs used to, that would have been the thing. But that's not the NFL we live in anymore. Now these guys come in, they're expected to be starters when they're first-round draft picks in day one. There's no time to do anything, let alone learn the playbook. They're throwing right into the fire. And when you're throwing in the fire in New York, I mean, Bill Parcells, the guy who hired me, used to say, everybody wants the big job in New York until they get it. Well, there's Zach Wilson with that big job. And all of a sudden, there's no time to develop. There's no time to do anything. It's like, here we go. And all of a sudden, the bullets are real, and these guys are coming off the edge.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I want to make sure that we have time to break the Jets down in my opinion, by position group, particularly post-draft. So just before we leave quarterback and we move into why, and it's really important too, right? Great points here by MTO in terms of stability. I actually am a big LaFleur fan. You might imagine, since they come from the that's right, world champion head coach Sean McVay.
Oh yes,
and got it in. And
don't forget your coach and all your people that you love. They came from the guy I interviewed from in Washington, 2019. Bruce Allen hired all of them.
Okay, it's very, very incestuous. But in order to have time to break this down by position group, because I think the next two position groups we talk about are key to Zack's success. You have been, shall we say, what's the word, ballsy in saying that you believe Mike White should have this job.
Yes, absolutely.
What say you to Jets fans? MTO is bringing up some great points over here that Zach Wilson has Mahomes syndrome. He's always going for the home run, which I know we've talked about in past podcasts. But Mike White, Jets, Jets fans, what say you? Scout Kelly, Mike White.
Absolutely. Here's the thing, okay? I wrote an article, if you want to go back and look at it, guys, for SI Jets. I wrote a November 14th article that I wrote that Mike White proves that Zach Wilson is a bust, okay? And the reason why I said that, and the reason why I'm so high on Mike White, who's a fifth-round quarterback drafted by the Dallas Cowboys in 2018, spent time with the practice squad, all that jazz, is that it was when I was watching the Jets-Patriots game, I believe it was in week 6. This is all off memory, okay? I'm looking right into the screen. You can read my eyes. I'm not looking at any teleprompters. I don't have producers feeding me the information. I'm not just a talking head. I actually know what I'm talking about, okay? So when I went back and I watched that game last year in week 6, against the Patriots, Zach Wilson got really beat up bad. A matter of fact, he should have gone out of the game a couple plays prior to the injury with the knee because he came up limping and Salah kept him in the game, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm watching the game and then Mike White comes in. Guys, it was such a noticeable increase and such a noticeable difference for the better when Mike White came in the game. Everything started clicking more. Everything was clicking on more cylinders. And let me explain what I'm talking about when it comes to this, okay? Is that when up until week 6, okay, when Zach Wilson was a quarterback, the New York Jets, and these are all stats you can go verify and check up on me with, okay? The New York Jets had the 31st ranked offensive line in the NFL when Zach Wilson was in there the first 5 weeks up until week 6, okay? When Mike White took over, now this is a guy, Mike White threw his first NFL pass in that game against New England, okay? So even though he's been in the league 2018, It makes no difference. It was equal experience level. Mike White came in there, and when the 3 weeks that he played, okay, the offensive line went from being ranked number 31st to being ranked number 27th. The offensive line was giving up 3.6 sacks per game with Zach Wilson. They dropped down to 2 sacks per game with Mike White. Same personnel. Why? Okay. Why? Because he gets rid of the ball faster. He's more deliberate and decisive in the pocket. He knows what he's doing. He's got more confidence. Okay. Now, check this out.
MTO agrees.
Right. Now, check this out. Right. Okay. Not only that, okay, but Mike White in the games that he played in, okay, was his completion percentage was 72.7%, okay, before the Buffalo meltdown, okay, it was 72.7%, okay, but even after that, if you go to ESPN.com tonight, Mike White completes 66.7% of his passes last year, okay, Zach Wilson was 57.5%. Okay. Wilson ranks 31st in the NFL per ESPN.com. Now you start looking at the other stats. Okay. The offense with Zach Wilson in the game, okay, the first 5 weeks was averaging 193 yards passing per game. With Mike White, that goes up almost up to 349.7. Okay. Third down efficiency. I'm not done yet. Third down efficiency, right? Okay. Check this out. Third down efficiency. Okay, I'm coming in hot tonight. I'm screaming off the edge.
That's clear, man. I'm looking for Jets fans to go have meltdown on you right here.
Hey, turn up the volumes. Don't melt down. Turn up the volumes. Pump up the volume. Okay. Third down efficiency with Zach Wilson went from 38.10% to Mike White up to 55.26%. Big increase, right? Okay. Red zone efficiency. Let's talk about that. 45.45% for Zach Wilson, up to 69.23 with Mike White. Okay. Here's the situation. Now, I also want to talk about, okay, we're talking against top 15 defenses Mike White did this against, right? New England, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Buffalo. We're talking about top 15 defenses in the league, right? Now, check this out, right? Okay. The New York Jets scored the most points of any game last season against the eventual AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. They scored 34 points in that game with Mike White, a quarterback, okay? In that game, Mike White showed a tremendous resolve because at 2 different points during that game, the Jets were down 17-7 at one point, and he led them back. And in the fourth quarter, the Jets were down 31-20, and he led them back to win the game 34-31 against Cincinnati, okay? These are just some of the stats, okay, that he showed that he looked a lot better. And the offense, I mean, Mike LaFleur, and I agree with you, MTO, okay, about Mike LaFleur. He has all those trick plays and everything, right? The offense was clicking on all cylinders with Mike White in the game. It just was working very, very well. It was a lot more efficient. The team responded better than Mike White. The fans responded more to Mike White. Things were starting to roll. I believe, turn up the volumes because this is going to be one for the archives, okay, I believe, okay, let's call it what it is, okay? I think we're starting to look at the beginning of a very big quarterback controversy in New York. Mike White even came out and said, hey, Mike White even said, hey, I look like the number 1 pick overall in the draft. Why not me? Why was I picked number 1? Mike White was starting to talk crazy from the podium, okay? It was starting to happen, okay? And I believe the New York Jets sabotaged Mike White in that game against Buffalo and set him up to not look as good as he should have looked, okay? In order to open the door back up for Zach Wilson to come in there with his little cape on that Robert Salah says he wears like a superhero and save the day. But here's the thing, okay? The cream always rises to the top. And believe you and me, this is not the last time we will see Mike White way outplay Zach Wilson because he's got more confidence. And we can talk all this scouting jargon we want to all day long. But the bottom line is the quarterback with the most confidence will win the day. And that's Mike White. That's Mike White.
Okay. MTO is not quite as bullish. I'm not as well. I do like Mike White. He's a baller. He reminds me of Case Keenum. He reminds me of John Wolford, guys that come in and they're gamers, they're overachievers. They just get after it when they get their chance. So I love them. I do agree. MTO's mentioning here that he's checked down Charlie a little bit too much for his own taste. I think it's a valid point. Flacco's days are clearly behind him. They got Mike White listed as 3rd on the depth chart.
Yeah, because Joe Douglas loves Joe Flacco. That's what the problem is there.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Although I do feel like Flacco should have had a better career, even though he has a Super Bowl. It's kind of an odd career arc with Joe Flacco. Okay, so you're saying Mike White, stick him in, send me in, coach. The rest of us are giving Zach Wilson a little bit more time to develop. They have surrounded him with some weapons now, and I want to break this down in the interest of time on both sides of the ball, because obviously it begins and ends with Zach Wilson or Mike White, because he's literally one play away from having to start. There's no question about that.
And have you seen the Jets schedule? That one play could come real quickly, especially with the Jets offensive tackle situation.
Okay, I'm going to lead you right into that, but I want to talk about the skill positions first. And that starts with what I thought was a real steal in this draft in the running back room. You were bullish on this guy. I actually like what the Jets had last year, and Michael Carter, I thought, did a really nice job, but it's easy to see he's a third down back, a pass receiving back, a scat back, all those old terms.
Yep, second back, yep.
But how about what they went out and did in this draft, picking up Breece Hall as late as they did? You on this show compared him to Adrian Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, factoring in Zach Wilson's maturation and growth, did they not go out of their way? We're going to get to the wide receivers, but just in the backfield, Michael Carter, Breece Hall, they're giving Zach some guys to hand the ball to.
They are, absolutely. I love Breece Hall. I mean, back in the NFL, we grew up in, like, we talked about, Breece Hall would have been a top 10 pick in the NFL we grew up in. I mean, but for some reason, over the last 7, 8, 10 years, I think only like 7 backs in the last 7 years have been taken in the first round. Obviously it's a different NFL. We want to sell tickets. We want to make more money. Offense sells tickets. Defense wins championships, that type of things. So we're getting away from the running game. That's why in teamrankings.com, every single team in the league throws the ball between 51 and 67% of the time now, because we're kind of moving away from our grandpa's NFL and we're moving more into Eric Coryell's domain. I love Breece Hall. I love him. And the thing I love about Breece Hall the most, and the reason for MTO, for the comparison with Adrian Peterson, is he runs a lot like Adrian Peterson did. Okay. He's a very patient back, very patient. He's got a similar build. He'll chip. He's looking for the slightest of creases. And when you give him that crease, he's got the explosiveness and the acceleration of a Ferrari. He can hit that second. You can see it on tape. He hits that. It's like a downshift. And he hits the line of scrimmage, and he goes. He explodes into the second level. And if you don't have somebody there that knows how to wrap and tackle, you're going to be chasing him. And that's what he did at Iowa State. This is a guy that had a long of 76 yards, I think, 1 year, 80 yards the next year. The guy's got big stats, and he can catch the ball. Not as a check down back. I'm talking about this guy can go on wheel routes and stuff downfield. He can get down the sidelines as well, and he can win that way. Breece Hall is going to be a true difference maker. This is the best running back, as I talked about, for Jets country that the New York Jets have had since Curtis Martin. And do I remember Curtis Martin? Wow. Curtis Martin was the first person to greet me when I walked in the door when I got hired. He was sitting at the training table. I said, hello, Curtis. He said, hello, who are you? And I said, Daniel Kelly. I'm in scouting with the team now. And he goes, hey, welcome to the team. So that's my Curtis Martin moment from the
Hall of Famer, baby.
That's right off the bat. I mean, that's the first thing I saw besides Keyshawn's Ferrari in the parking lot. I mean, but this guy is going to be a true difference maker. Your point, Stacy, the Michael Carter, I liked him last year as well. So yeah, the Jets are stacked in the backfield for sure.
Okay, good. We're in agreement there. And that's where I factor in a lot of my Zach Wilson growth talk. I think giving him 2 change of pace running backs. I watched a lot of Breece Hall after you recommended. I watched a lot of him. I saw a lot of a couple different backs in him. I saw a little Cadillac Williams. You remember him? And a little bit of work done, some LaDainian Tomlinson. I really like the kid. I think that he's going to definitely, and MTO comes with a Matt Forte comparison. What a great comparison. I think this is going to help Zach Wilson. And then, of course, being able to change it up with their play calling. And as you both have mentioned, the LaFleur connection, they like to pass the ball to backs. I think Michael Carter adds that dimension as well.
That's good. Yeah.
I like what they're doing at the skill positions in New York, positions in New York. I think Jets fans should be jacked for these 2 guys. Let's move in the interest of time, because I know we're going to blow up on this offensive line subject a little bit. So let's real quickly, I got to tell you, I want to move into the wide receiver room for the Jets. I got to tell you, in terms of just raw young talent, I don't know if anybody's better. If you're going with 11 personnel, you're looking at Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, and rookie Garrett Wilson. Backing them up is Braxton Berrios, who more than proved to be a gamer last year. And then what's going to happen with Denzel Mims? Is he ever going to, come back or start or whatever it may be?
Hey, it's like Bill Parcells used to say, if they don't bite when they're puppies, they're generally not going to bite.
It's really some. I mean, and I guess just in the interest of time, although it's really offensive line, the tight end position was CJ Uzuma pickup. I mean, come on now. They're giving Zach Wilson
And
a lot.
Conklin, they got their the tight
And
end.
Conklin,
They
right?
put $44 million in the tight ends. Then they drafted Jeremy Ruckert on top of it in Ohio State in the third round, late in the third. So they got all the skill positions covered. You're right.
I mean, it really looks good. Now I'm looking at that AFC East and looking at the cornerback matchups. That Buffalo situation at corner is tough. They've got the two best young corners. Kyer Elam, I absolutely loved. I know you did too. The Florida pickup to go opposite White. But then you start looking at the Patriots and you look a little bit, I guess it's tough there in Miami as well. This wide receiver room, young and experienced, but when they learn to play together, Zach Wilson's going to look, there's not going to be any excuses for Zach. That's for sure. With the running back room and the wide receiver room, the Jets have committed to the skills guys. I Jets fans, what say you? I think that you've got to be excited about that. What do you think, Scout? MTO's coming hard with some of he's excited about these guys too.
And you're right, MTO. I want to respond to what you're saying. That Michael Carter is the unsung hero of the offense. He brings a lot of heart and grit wherever he runs.
Yeah,
I agree. I think Mike last year, you could have made an argument that Braxton Berrios, Michael Carter should have been the team MVP. Even I thought they both. I agree with you, MTO. I think Michael Carter ran. I was really impressed. I wrote an article about Michael Carter last year. I had nothing but good things to say about him. No problems there. As far as the skill position guys are concerned. I'm on the same sheet of music as you are, Stacy, with those guys. The only problem is who's going to be throwing the ball.
I know.
And so it comes back to it. It comes back to it. It does. And that's the thing is if I'm a defensive coordinator playing the Jets, I'm going to put 8 up in the box, and I'm going to dare. I'm going to hold up my defenders are going to hold up a little towel that says "Throw the ball, Zach. Throw the ball." And I'm going to dare him. I'm going to dare him until he can show that he can beat me one-on-one on the outside. I'm going to play in the box all day long. And that's what Zach's going to have to contend with. And that's why I said in my article, of course, that Brady Quinn came out 2 days later and actually said the same things I talked about on the 15th in my article for Jets Country. But, we both, Brady Quinn and I both see 5 wins with Zach Wilson. I see 9 wins with Mike White. I think Mike White adds a different dimension to this team. So I'm not knocking the talent level that Joe Douglas is building around Zach Wilson, and he's doing the best he can. Joe Douglas strikes me as a guy who basically was told by Mr. Woody Johnson, you are drafting Zach Wilson. Check your paycheck. Who signs it? Oh, okay. Yes, sir. Yes. Okay. And he seems kind of to be Joe Douglas seems to be a guy that was told to draft Zach Wilson because the airlines that the team flies on. And Joe Douglas has done his best. I mean, everything Joe Douglas has done just about I would have done. And I wrote about it pre-draft. This goes way back since last November. I've been writing about this stuff. So you can verify it. Is that the type of players I talked about how the Jets have got to walk away in this draft from either DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, or Garrett Wilson. They got to get one of the 3. They got Garrett Wilson. I talked on this show that they got to get Breece Hall. They got Breece Hall. The Jermaine Johnson thing is a joke to me. That I put a 5th round grade on Jermaine Johnson. I don't like him at all. He's stiff and rigid, and he's not explosive. He has no pass rushing moves whatsoever off the edge. That's like a Dorian Booz 2.0 to me. But when I talk, they got the skill position guys. It's just that who's throwing the ball is what it's going to come down to for the Jets.
Okay, fair enough, man. I love that raw. Here's my prediction, and then we got to move to the offensive line in the interest of time. But I'll tell you what, my prediction is this. LaFleur comes from that McVay tree. You're going to see a lot of 11 personnel. You're going to see those young wide receivers in bunch sets, and you're going to see a lot of screens with Breece Hall and Michael Carter, a lot of wide receiver screens with Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson. I think they're going to find ways to get the ball to those guys. High percentage throws.
Before we move on, Stacy, one quick
Yeah.
comment. MTO says Garrett Wilson's ball control in the air is going to save Zach Wilson's butt so many times this year. Just throw it anywhere near vicinity, and Garrett will save the day. Hey, I agree with all that. Okay, that's why I suggested the Jets have got. Everyone's like, should they go get who should they get? Should it be Treylon Burke? Should it be Jameson Williams? Should it be Garrett Wilson? I said all along it should be Garrett Wilson because he's got a big catch radius. He can go up high, go down low, and get the ball. And he's great. He's got yakety-yak, the great yards after the catch ability. So, yes, you can throw those little wide receiver bubble screens over outside. He can get those. He can pick up yards. He's great at the intermediate level. He can separate explosive at break points. He creates nice throwing windows, and he can sneak behind a defense. He's great at all three levels. So I agree with you. 100,000% I agree with you about Garrett Wilson, that he'll be a real difference maker for the Jets. I love the guy. I think he could possibly even be a Pro Bowler his first year.
Okay. All right. I love it. Okay. We got to get, in the interest of time, because we only got 20 minutes left, and we got to get the offensive line and then talk some defense. Looking at that offensive line, you called my attention to some things that I did find. Here we go. He's going to get sour patchy on us. But
you know why? Because the offensive line is a very sour subject for the New York Jets.
I figured there was a bad pun coming.
So
looking at that offensive line across the front, left tackle George Fant, left guard Laken Tomlinson, center Connor McGovern, right guard is Elijah Vera Tucker, and then right tackle Mekhi Becton. What do you see? We've talked about the skill position. We've talked about Zack. But everything comes down to the guys up front. Oh, look at MTO. He might have been prophetic here. What say you, Scout? Offensive line for the New York Jets.
Yeah, a great comment there, MTO. I will touch on that in just a second here. This is an article I wrote a couple days ago that the one thing that Jets that Joe Douglas failed to do this offseason, we're so hyped about the draft. We're so hyped about the skill position guys. We're talking about, like Stacey's talking about there. We're so hyped about all this stuff. We're talking about quarterbacks. We're talking about a Sauce on a corner. We're talking about all these things. We're so distracted that we all but forget that Joe Douglas, the general manager, completely epically failed to address the offensive tackle position this offseason with the New York Jets. And it scares me too, MTO, because here's the situation, okay? We got, what I said in my article for Jets Country the other day is looking at George Fant and Mekhi Becton as your offensive tackles. When you're talking about Zach Wilson, who's the third most sacked quarterback in the league last year at 44 sacks, both offensive tackles, okay, are coming off knee surgeries. And I talked about in my article, that's like building a house. See, this is where I don't get Joe Douglas, okay? This is where I almost feel like he's warming my seat to be the next general manager of the New York Jets, okay? Because these articles I write, I tag Mr. Johnson in these, and I send him my articles so he can read along and see the progress and see what I'm talking about, okay? I tag at Woody Johnson 4 right in my articles, okay? Because here's the situation. Going with two offensive tackles coming off knee surgeries is like building a house with two pillars that are cracked that with duct tape wrapped around them, okay? That's what this is like, okay? Now, George Fant, granted, gave up, I think, only 18 pressures in 15 games last year. Again, from memory. Thanks, guys. It's okay. No, I'm not hearing voices. I'm just being funny.
I was going to say you're hearing things. Okay.
But check this out. Okay. Yes. George Fant had a very good season. He's 29 years old. And for some reason, actions speak louder than words. Kind of like we're seeing on San Francisco with this whole fiasco quarterback. Actions speak louder than words. This is a last year of Fant's contract, 29 years old, coming off the knee surgery, and Joe Douglas refuses to give George Fant an extension. Maybe there's something more going on with the knee that meets the eye. I'm not sure what's going on there, but let's leave George Fant alone for a second, okay? Let's go over to the right side of the line where we have Mekhi Becton, who a lot of people are calling a bust already, okay, from a draft a couple years ago. Well, he went through the knee surgery last year, and then he ballooned up to 400 pounds, according to Rich Kamini with ESPN. He's working with a nutritionist. He's doing all this stuff. They're there's different things coming out in New York. What's going on with him? You know, he hasn't played in a whole lot of games. There's always something going on with him. It's either his weight or it's an injury. Listen, it's bad news. Okay, so you got those are your two starting quarterbacks. Okay, so all this stuff around us, the running backs, the receivers, all this stuff is great. Mike White, Zach Wilson, is a Wyatt Tittle. All this stuff is great. But in the NFL we play in, okay, the New York Jets are going to face, according to NFL.com, I talked about this on my YouTube channel the other day, are going to face 5 of the top 10 most disruptive pass rushers in the NFL last season, okay, including T.J. Watt with Pittsburgh, okay, Trey Hendrickson with the Cincinnati Bengals, okay, Robert Quinn with the Chicago Bears, okay, Matthew Judon, okay, coming off the edge, coming in hot with the New England Patriots, okay, and then Myles Garrett, let's not forget about him they face, okay. The Steelers got all these people coming off the end. They got linebackers. They got Alex Highsmith coming in. They got all these different people. Okay, the Jets are faced just an enormous pass rush coming off the edges. You're coming off hot, you know, in the dirty pocket. They're coming off hot, and so you have these two offensive tackles. Okay. So what happens? What happens if these guys can't go? Well, that's a huge concern because all the Jets' backup reserve offensive tackles combined, I believe, have about 18 starts amongst the 5 of them. Okay, most of those guys are late round draft picks. Most of those guys are playing on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th team. Okay, and in 3-4 years, they're journeyman offensive linemen. They're people that nobody in the National Football League would even start on a dare. Okay, at offensive tackle, more than likely. And then, of course, Max Mitchell, the 4th round guy, they drafted, okay, to bring him in at right tackle. He's out there, but nobody knows how good he's going to be. And, of course, offensive tackles that are great pass protectors normally don't slide into the 4th round. And then you got the other guy at the left tackle, Odogma, I believe his name is. I'm pronouncing it right, I hope. But you got him. And he's a guy with hardly any experience either. So bottom line, we got all these different things going on with the New York Jets. But then what does Joe Douglas do? Now, this is where it gets really confusing for me, okay? Help me out because I don't believe in 6-year plans. I was on a staff that had a 2-year plan that took us to the AFC Championship game with Bill Parcells with the New York Jets. I don't believe in this eternal like JFK's gravesite with this eternal flame. It's like an eternal eternal rebuild, okay, where we just steal money for decades, you know, in years and years, and we keep selling the future. I don't believe that stuff, and that's going to be the header on my resume. Is that you know the thing about this is why does Joe Douglas go out and spend $40 million on a run blocking offensive guard opposed to addressing the offensive tackle position? Because you know what that says to me? It says to me that he doesn't really care about Zach Wilson. He doesn't really care what's going to happen here because, I mean, he was already coming off a knee surgery last year, and now you're going to do this to him? It makes no sense because this issue at offensive tackle alone, to our listeners, could destroy the whole thing. It could get Joe Douglas, Robert Slaw, everybody fired, okay? It can get Zach Wilson's career ruined off a catastrophic hit, okay? And it can ruin the entire everything that's been built to date can be ruined because he neglected to look at this offensive tackle position. The whole thing, the whole house of cards is resting on 2 guys coming off knee surgeries and 1 guy who spends more time at the buffet than he does looking at a playbook.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, that was a rant on the offensive line. I couldn't keep up with it, but MTO seems to agree with you. It looks like he's suggesting they're going to play a lot of 12 personnel, a lot of 22, where they're double tight end sets.
There you go.
I mean,
that's
we could
very
see this.
That could
be what. Yeah, it could be why they went out and got Breece Hall.
It's very possible. It's very possible. But here's the thing about that you know, nickel and chip offense when you're throwing little screen passes and little stuff all the time is that Bill Walsh was able to win a lot of Super Bowls with a little 5 and dime offense, right? Where he just threw those little slants because he had receivers who could take it to the house, and John Taylor and Jerry Rice. If you're sitting there all day nickel and diming it down the field, eventually it's not going to work because it's going to take too many plays to get in scoring position. Too many things can break down with somebody drops a pass, there's a holding call. This guy's got this. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You have to have people that can advance the football. And but like you say, MTO, with Ruckert or Zuma, they can maybe help the foundation some. But it's going to be tough. It's really going to be tough. And not only that, but it's going to make Zach Wilson even more jumpy in the pocket, knowing he's playing premier pass rushers week in and week out that are coming for his head. And he's got to basically rely on tight ends chip blocking.
Yeah, I'm going to predict it right now. I said it earlier, LaFleur and where he comes from. Lots of wide receiver screens, lots of running back screens, lots of tight end screens, lots of middle screens. They're probably going to try to cover up for that. But I think it's a good point that I hadn't thought of till you pointed it out to me. We have got to move to the defensive side of the ball. We only have a few minutes left on this week. And
this is a fun show. It's a fun show. MTO's adding a lot of valuable content. Thank you.
Yes. He's got other comments, but we just can't squeeze them all in. But moving to the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to start on the line of scrimmage over there too. I love what Robert Salah is doing there. I think that it's going a little unnoticed in NFL circles. I look at that defensive line of Quinnen Williams, Jonathan Franklin Myers, formerly of the world champion Los Angeles Rams, Carl Lawson. You don't like Jermaine Johnson, but and again, it remains to be seen there. That is a very solid defensive line that's built much in the same type of mold as what he built at San Francisco. And then he's got some names on the bench that I don't know if he's collecting, like guys that would have been, should have been type players. But Solomon Thomas is on the Jets bench. He never turned into anything in San Francisco. You got Sheldon Rankins, whose best days are probably behind him. And then another guy that used to be actually on the world champion Rams, Tanzel Smart. So they've got some pieces. They've got a rotation. But what do you Jets fans say about that defensive line and what you see happening there? I know you don't like Jermaine Johnson.
Here's the problem. Okay, with what Robert Salah and the defense. First of all, the team hasn't taken on Robert Salah's identity. This team is known as an offensive team, which is very strange to me because every team kind of gets known as their, what side of the ball their head coach comes from. The Jets still haven't identified any kind of defensive identity, team identity. When we think of the Jets, we think of offense, we think of Zach Wilson, we think of Mike LaFleur, we think of all these things. Okay. We don't think about the defense. And Bryce Huff, you said the best kept secret of defense.
It's a little zinger.
I haven't seen him yet. In all fairness, I'm excited to look at him now that you bring him up. So that's a great insight right there from Memphis. And he very well may be. Those guys that are undrafted free agents are always pretty hungry coming in, which I love about them. But looking at that defensive line, here's the reality, okay? When Robert Salah was defensive coordinator, I wrote about this last November for the Jets country, if you go look at these articles. When Robert Salah was with the San Francisco 49ers under Kyle Shanahan, okay, Salah's defenses were, just mediocre, okay, until they got Bosa. Once they got Bosa in there, once Nick Bosa came in there, the defense skyrocketed up to 8th in the league, okay? And Robert Salah's entire defense started clicking, okay? That cover threes, that shell that he plays and all that, okay? All that stuff started clicking the moment he got Nick Bosa, okay? And before that, they were nothing. And when Bosa got hurt, they went back down again, and then Salah got the Jets job. Robert Salah's entire defensive scheme is predicated on getting to the quarterback. If he can't get to the quarterback, it doesn't work. Last year, the New York Jets were like 24th in the NFL per teamrankings.com. They got to, I think they averaged 1.9 sacks per game, and it wasn't cutting it. It equals 4 and 13. Real simple math. Can't get to the quarterback, Jets don't win. Okay, so now they go out, okay, and now Lawson's obviously an unknown. He's coming off an injury last year, right? Okay, and then they sign this Jacob Martin, who I don't like at all, from the Texans. I think that's you might as well just throwing the money out the window driving down the highway in New York instead of giving it to him, okay? That's just awful. Okay, I mean he couldn't get it done for
He's
Houston.
fourth on the depth chart right now.
Yeah, no, not at all. And Jermaine Johnson is not going to cut it either. Okay, like I mentioned earlier in the show, I won't go too much into Jermaine Johnson, but the guy is just stiff and rigid. Okay, when you hear the word stiff and rigid as a defensive lineman, it's a bad combination because number one, he's not explosive at the point of attack. There's no pop or explosiveness. Number two, he can't adjust to the pocket. If the quarterback gives him a little move, he's out to lunch. So Jermaine Johnson is going to turn out to be a bust for the Jets. I'm sorry, Jets fans, but that's how that's going to go down. I mean, I walked in the office in my interview and said Dorian Booz was an undraftable reject, and the Jets top draft pick the year I went in for my interview, and he turned out to be that. So I don't like the Jermaine Johnson thing, but the Jets have got to find a way to get to the quarterback some way, somehow, and if they don't do that, they're not going to have any success. And I feel bad because I love Sauce Gardner. I love him. He was a guy that, I might even get a Sauce Gardner jersey even. I like him that much. I compared him to Champ Bailey, who I named my daughter after, my firstborn. And I really like Sauce Gardner, but that's asking a lot of him. When you're playing the Jets are playing prolific offenses with prolific quarterbacks 9 of the first 10 weeks of the season, and you're gonna line them up and have that situation with those type of quarterbacks the Jets are facing. That's asking a lot of Ahmad Gardner to cover those guys if the Jets can't get to the quarterback.
Yeah, you're going to have to rush the passer. I like the young nucleus. I think they have a few moving parts. I don't think Solomon Thomas ever develops. Tanzel Smart is a role player. I think that, they really need Jermaine Johnson to be something, but you feel like he won't be. Let's move to the linebackers in the interest of time because we're running out of time. The linebacking core, I think, I don't want to dare say that I think it's underrated, but I like some of their pieces.
I would say so.
Yeah, I like C.J. Mosley. I like Quincy Williams.
Yep, a lot.
At the Sam.
I like him. Yep.
At the Will Hamza Nasruddin. I think they're gamers. I think they're athletic. I think that they kind of fit into that Salah mold. We saw that with Warner and some of the players he developed in San Francisco. So I like this group. What say you about the linebackers before we close out with the DBs?
Yeah, that's the strength of their defense.
You think the linebackers are?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It's a good group. It's a good group of guys, but it's that middle layer, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference as far as winning and losing is concerned. I like the linebackers. I think you can win with them.
You and MTO in slight disagreement here as a Jets fan and a Jets writer. I think they're athletic. I think that they're I really see Salah putting his fingerprint on this defense for the first time. I see that. I don't know what to think about Jermaine Johnson. I think they could have it would have been nice to see them grab one of those offensive tackles there in that spot, maybe. I think most of the best edge rushers were gone when they took Johnson.
They weren't at all. There were a lot more still out there.
Well, that's true. Your guy from San Diego State you loved.
Cam Thomas was still out there. Myja Sanders was still out there. Arnold Abichetti was still out there from Penn State was still sitting there. There was a number of guys. Nick Bonito was still sitting out there.
That's right. The kid from Oklahoma. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. They about 4 guys out there still sitting there. And here's the kicker. And I wrote about this is that when Joe Douglas traded up to get Jermaine Johnson and he traded with Tennessee, right, to get him. Actually, the Tennessee Titans end up taking Nicholas Petit-Ferrari, the guy who I liked on the show from Ohio State, the left tackle. They took him at pick number 69, which was a Jets pick, I think. So the Titans got the draft pick and they got the offensive tackle instead of the Jets, and the Jets moved up to take Jermaine Johnson instead. That one's going to come back to bite him. But go ahead.
Okay, interesting. So the linebacking core, I think we all agree, are gamers. I like Mosley in the middle. I think that they've got some really nice pieces. But to your point, if you're a Jets fan, you've got to be looking at that front four. It's critical. It's critical to this defense. It's critical to a Salah defense. That this is what
it has to. It's non-negotiable. It's got to be. They got to get to the quarterback.
Man, they've got Quinnen Williams and Franklin Myers. I'll tell you what, the Rams never should have let Franklin Myers go.
But what did that produce last year? The 1.9 sacks per game. Everybody, that's all those guys could do last year. Now, obviously, Lawson didn't play, but the rest of them were ranked 24th in the league. So if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always gotten type of thing.
Yeah. Okay. So we got to close out. We spent a lot of time on offense, which is so typical of us, but closing it out with the defensive backs and what you see Robert Salah building on defense. My God, Sauce Gardner, absolute steal. I still can't believe that the Texans took Stingley over Sauce, a pick earlier, but wow, were the Jets excited to get him. I'm a little skeptical with what they got left. Playing on the other side, Ahmad Gardner, I'm guessing, is going to start at opposite Sauce, and then Marcus Joyner, who was formerly of the Rams and has been injured and has never really taken since he's left the Rams. He played with the Raiders, now he's with the Jets. And then you've got Jordan Whitehead at free safety. You still look a little weak at DB to me. Sauce Gardner, you got to believe, is going to be, he's going to shut down his side of the field, or he's going to be less attractive to throw to. So the other guy, Gardner, is going to get thrown at a lot. Looks like MTO likes the safety position with Whitehead, really sees him as
I like Whitehead a lot. I wrote him up for
Okay.
Jets Country. I like Whitehead. I think that's a good signing. I think they hit a home run with that one.
Okay. Yeah, he's comparing him to the all-time amazing great Sean Taylor, which you may know a thing or two about as a Commander fan. Don't know what else to say to you. Interesting. Ashton Davis is mentioned here too by MTO, the resident Jets fan. The DBs, as we go overtime on our show this week, what do you grade this defensive backfield for the Jets?
I like the defensive backfield. They signed DJ Reed. They got DJ Reed they brought over. They also got Michael Carter, Brees Hall. Yeah. I think the corners are good. I think their safeties, I think their safeties are going to be pretty decent as well. I agree. Like I touched on the Whitehead signing. I think the linebackers and I think the secondary is the strength of this defense. And I think that the linebackers are I said they're the strength. I think the back seven, right, are pretty good. I think they've done a nice job with that. I do think that, okay. The problem is with that, when you sit back there, we've all seen it on Sundays. When you're playing against these type of quarterbacks, okay, they're playing against Lamar Jackson. And they're playing against, Deshaun Watson. They're playing against, all these different type of guys. They're playing against Josh Allen. They're playing against Mac Jones. They're playing against Tua Tagovailoa. They're playing against, just the list goes on. Every week they got a different guy coming through the door. Okay, they're going to be Kirk Cousins. They'll be playing him. I mean, they got all these guys down the road. Jared Goff. It's just okay when you allow these seasoned Russell Wilson they're playing. When you allow these seasoned, quarterbacks that sit back in the pocket. And it's 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi.
Yeah.
These
you
guys
be average and look like a pro. Yeah.
These guys are going to rip the Jets defense alive if they can't get to the quarterback. So I think that see this, and this is where team building 101 comes in. This is where it really confuses me about what he's done, what Joe Douglas has done, because I look at a lot of the stuff and Joe Douglas. Let me just express some love to him on the show. Okay. I think he's phenomenal as being a guy who can find talent in the later rounds, the undrafted guys and these street free agents, the John Franklin Myers of the world he brought in, the Braxton Berrios and all these kind of people he brings in that out of nowhere. And the Mike White, okay, he brought him in too. Michael Carter, the running back. Okay, I could go on. There's a lot of guys he's brought into the fold that he's done a really nice job on, and he's done a nice job with a lot of these pieces of the puzzle. But from a team building standpoint, okay, the two biggest some of the needs they had was protecting the franchise quarterback that he picked and getting to the quarterback, and he did not do either one of those, in my opinion. And so it's all kind of for naught. It's like all this. It's like running 20 miles on a treadmill. People ask you, say, "Well, you look like you're sweating. You must have really run a lot today." Yeah, I ran 20 miles on a treadmill, but I didn't go anywhere. That's that's what's kind of like. Now, also MTO says, about the Jets neglecting a kicker, going with Eddie Pinheiro or ex-Rams Greg the Leg.
Greg the Leg, baby.
Yeah, here's the thing. I wrote a article.
We shifted to special teams in no time in our closing minutes. Boom.
It's nice. It's nice we did that because the Jets are the 13th ranked special teams according to Rich Goslin on the article I was looking at today. The special teams. I wrote an article, MTO, into our Jets fans listening last November. If you go check it out, pull it up. Daniel Kelly, Cade York, the LSU kid you're talking about. I wrote him up. I said the Jets really got to look at drafting a kicker. Instead, the Browns take him instead. They're extremely excited about him. Nobody cares about the kicker until the guy runs out on the field and the game's resting on the leg. And, that's the only time we care about the kicker. But yeah, the Jets really neglected that one too. It's just, and that's the thing, that's what blows my mind too about Joe Douglas is, okay, so the Jets are sitting there in the third round and he takes after dropping a Brinks truck of $44 million on the two tight ends we talked about for the Bengals and for the Vikings. Then he goes down and drafts another tight end in the third round when he could have got himself a Cade York, a kicker like that, who went in the fourth round instead to the Browns. It's like my old boss used to say, how close are we? We're this close. It's like Joe Douglas did so many things so well, but the few things that he didn't address. I mean, it's like the house is just, it's built on a foundation of sand. It's just kind of shaky, but there's enough there from a PR standpoint to sell tickets to the fans so we can get them all hyped up, of course. Oh yeah, let's get those tickets. Let's get those season ticket sales going. We can do all that. But we neglected some very foundational pieces to this puzzle that the whole thing could collapse into a rubble if it just a little bit of it goes south.
Okay, so there you have it, folks. We have went overtime for the Jets. We want to thank MTO, who is thanking us. No, we're thanking you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, MTO. Thank you. Yeah. And here's the thing, okay? As obviously, again, I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade. I know you love the Jets. I spent 4 years there. A great organization, great fan base, have been through a lot. I really hope sincerely it turns out. I hope we can all come on the show and say, Daniel Kelly, you're an idiot, like everybody else on Twitter likes to say. We can all say it in unison. I'll even lead the cheer. I hope it turns out for the Jets. I'm not seeing it on tape. But at the same time, it's passionate fans like you, MTO, that make the Jets fan base so incredibly awesome.
All right. I love it, man. So go Jets. I'm rooting for them. I like to see the underdog rebound and be something special. I really like the pieces they're putting in place. There are some holes. Let's see what happens in the AFC East this next year. Thank you guys for joining us on the Dirty Pocket, which was all kinds of sour this week. I can't even believe they make that drink. I know about the candy. So Sour Patch energy drink, delightful. I'm sure it has no sugar in it, right?
Oh no,
not at all. Not at all.
So that's why my wife Samantha would say that's why I'm so sweet.
Oh geez. Oh boy. One day she'll be a guest on the show. Okay, we got to close this thing out. Scout Kelly, any parting shots for the audience for the next week or so?
Well, it's the off season. Of course, things seem pretty quiet, but imagine they probably won't stay too quiet. There's always some things right around the corner. And it'll be just interesting to see. I don't have anything in particular to say this week, except I started my 2023 scouting for the NFL draft. And so far, so good. CJ Stroud looks the part. He looks like a first rounder out of the Ohio State. So I'm getting going on that. And, but yeah, I just appreciate everyone tuning in. I appreciate all our fans and I appreciate everybody who follows us on social media. It's definitely a privilege to be able to, to do this. And we both love the game. So thank you for following us and listening.
Absolutely. I echo that. And I can't thank MTO enough. He's been fantastic. So I want to send out a big shout out to him. We really appreciate him and him being here. Thank you, our friend. My final shot is this, and it's Jets specific. I want to give a big shout out to Jonathan Franklin Myers and LaMarcus Joyner. I appreciated you guys, and it's always good to reconnect with guys that used to be on the world champion Los Angeles Rams. Thank you guys. You are missed. MTO, Jets fans, everyone listening, like, subscribe, hit us up on Twitter, yell at us. We love it. And we will see you next week. Thanks for another episode of The Dirty Pocket.
This was supposed to be a Jet show, not a Ram show, Stacey.
Go Rams. We'll see you next